Planned Brotherhood is not affiliated or associated with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a registered trademark of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Incorporated.
Go! Planned Brotherhood! Planned Brotherhood! Nick are out of control. They will crash the airwaves with the microphone. So sit down tight and listen close. All the ladies now take off your clothes. Planned Brotherhood! Planned Brotherhood!
I remember once at the meeting there was an announcement and it said to not knock on the microphones anymore, like when people were doing demonstrations of going out in service.
Because I guess every demonstration you do is, they would always share their experience. That was kind of a weird thing, actually.
That was how,
like they were apparently real door-to-door positive experiences they'd had, like out on the street as Jehovah's Witnesses. But then they'd get up with another person from the congregation and reenact it, right?
No.
I was involved in a couple of this.
I'm remembering more things where it was like, here's a new tract, here's a new piece of literature that this is going to be our focus. We're going to leave that door to door. And then so here's a way you can do it. And then like two people would come up and just like give a demonstration. It wasn't like an actual experience they'd had.
Maybe those were just at the district conventions then.
Did you ever have like return visits or anything like that when you would go door to door?
People know what return visits, right?
I think so. We've explained it. Hasn't that been the title of an episode?
Yeah. So any one of you that have ever had a Jehovah's Witness come up to your door, and then you're too nice not to accept the magazines, they write down your address and they'll give it a week or two, and then come back and ask if you've read the magazines, and try and eventually builds to getting a Bible study, which is like good news for you as a witness. You look really good.
Right. But I think the first time you go back, that's a call. I've got a call at this house.
Right.
And then it's a return visit, like if they take the second set of magazines, and then, Bible study. So how far did you ever... I think I had like one guy that I called on once.
Yeah, I had one lady...
Like he took a magazine one time, and you're supposed to ask, can I come back? And then...
you're also supposed to ask, because they're technically free, but...
for a donation.
Yeah, which I never did that either. When I was lucky enough to unload some of these magazines, which is really like once a month maybe when I was going regularly.
Yeah.
You were supposed to push for those donations, and they'd also, of course, incorporate that in those demonstrations too. Which I basically ripped off word for word when I was actually doing it.
I was not cut out for the door-to-door work at all. I would always just ask whoever I was going door-to-door with, like if they would take every door, or I'd knock really lightly at the door, or I would just fight.
Depending on who it was, we would sometimes just pretend to knock altogether.
Right. And then if someone did come to the door, I fucking hated it. It was so awful. Remember once we had to do it on our street, the street we lived on?
Which is humiliating. They should.
Yeah. And they're like making us do it. They're like, no, get out. And like they made us work the doors together, you and me.
God.
So that one of us would have to talk.
That's humiliating. The kid that we called a fag in the baseball field the day before.
Yeah, that's
now we're trying to sell him on the Bible.
And plus people who you see every day, and they see at least me running around being a fucking asshole in the neighborhood all the time. And now like I'm representing this religion, and they're like, I remember one lady on our street said something about, I'll pray for you, but you're wrong.
Yeah. I was always terrified well, first of all, anytime I heard doorsteps, like somebody approaching the door to open it, I'd fucking freak because I'm not prepared for it. I'm not, learned on the subject at all. I'm just saying what I'm supposed to say and going through the actions.
Right. If they have one question or anything like that, like we're screwed.
Or if they ask me to pull something from the Bible or, back it up with a scripture. There's no way I could do that.
It was stupid to be a little kid and have to do it like with the elders there standing with you. Like if we had to go with Paul Kostalecki or something like that, or Mike Ladner, and he makes us talk. I don't know.
It was a horrible way to spend your Saturday morning, no less.
Why would people answer the door?
I don't know. Some people just to say get the fuck out. I got a lot of that, as I'm sure you did. A lot of like blatant door slams.
Yeah.
Which you don't think really happens, but it does.
I used to like going with Bob Meacham because he would like...
Rest in peace.
He would do all of the doors, obviously, and I don't know. He just had
loved
a funny
talking to
way.
strangers, yeah. Whether he was preaching or not.
He was talking to this one lady, and she said something about, oh, my husband was involved with that, and he's dead now, and I don't have anything to do with it. And then he asked her how her husband died, and she was like, "That's on a need-to-know basis."
Now people ask how Bob died, and I pretty much say the same thing.
Yeah, you don't need to know.
You're not of the privileged. Would we call Paolo a friend or a fan of the show? Because he sent me a link recently on Facebook, and
Well, if he's sending you a link on Facebook, then
he's my friend.
Facebook says you're friends.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Facebook doesn't lie. But anyway, he's a good guy. He, as far as I know, listens to the episodes pretty intently. So he knows a lot about our background and stuff. And so he sent a link, and it was somebody's YouTube spoof of Jehovah's Witness. Did you watch it?
No, I saw like the first half of it, even though it was like a minute long.
I know.
watched the first
It
half.
was pretty silly. I mean, it was kind of funny. It was just nobody had any idea. I think
was
there was
like
a cross involved, and it was just a
these-
spoof. It was like an action movie, except for they were Jehovah's Witnesses prepping to go to a door.
Yeah.
But that led me on a path because once I got into YouTube and Jehovah's Witness stuff,
Yeah.
some
I
of
have
it's
been
pretty
led on
intense,
that
dude.
path.
We've explained disfellowshipping before, being excommunicated from a congregation, and these elders approach this guy at his door, and he claims to be filming a documentary, and it's like 10 minutes of him just being a total dick to them when they're just trying to tell him. I mean, and they're fuckheads too, obviously.
Oh yeah, they were big time, and he was asking questions about why. Explain to me what I've done and stuff like that.
And they kept reading from Matthew.
Yeah, they had all the fucking Bible things picked out. But see, I still think that if someone came to my door to disfellowship me, like, I can see videotaping it, but it still seemed like he cared. Like, what did I do to have to...
No, go back and watch it again. We'll put it up on MySpace this week. But if you really look at it, the guy's just being a dick. I mean, the guy behind the camera.
Yeah, I know.
Like, he's not really asking any questions that he expects answers for. And, of course, at least they have the know-how to turn to the Bible and tell him why.
I heard once it was a podcast, I think it was in Scotland or something like that, and basically the podcast was like 4 episodes, like a 4-hour meeting of this guy and his wife getting disfellowshipped. It went on for like 4 hours.
God, I need to hear that.
Yeah, it's really bad audio, and they're Scottish, so it's really hard. But it's called Death or Obedience or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, they've got some people that have been not only disfellowship, but then they turn apostate and stand outside of the Kingdom Hall with their signs, which we only saw generally at conventions and stuff. So this guy, every single assembly, which happens like 4 or 5 times a year, he would be there with his camera and bring like hot teenage girls with him to also hold signs, just so. And you see the Jehovah's Witnesses just being. I mean, I realize that's pretty in your face, but they're driving by and like yelling shit out the window and stuff about
The Jehovah's Witnesses
yeah,
are?
about how to go away. And you can blatantly see this one lady like run into the Kingdom Hall and get the police out there and stuff.
But see, this is one guy doing that, or like
And he'd been in the religion for 50 years,
Right.
and then just snapped.
I guess that gives you more anger and more of a right to do something.
But he seems like a really pleasant guy, actually.
Me, I just want to forget about it or whatever like that, and not make such a scene. But it was like I'm not that angry at the religion.
I may have asked you this on the show before, but do you ever think about, just for curiosity's sake, because I've heard so much has changed since we left the religion, just like sneaking into a Kingdom Hall once during a meeting and seeing what's going on?
It'd be too boring.
It's been like 6 years since I've been there. Yeah, I don't think it'd be boring for me anymore just because I'm looking at it with an outsider's perspective, kind of.
I guess if you
I've lived 6 years in the real world now.
if you sat there and like knew that no one was going to talk to you, but see, if I do it in Yakima, I'm going to know someone at any Kingdom Hall you go to.
That's true. It'd be different for me because there are plenty in Seattle, and they wouldn't recognize my face. They wouldn't know that they're not allowed to talk to
Right.
me. I just pretend to be interested or
No,
something.
you just dress nice and wander in.
I think I should do it as a research project for this very show.
it might be interesting to see what they talk about.
I'll
But
be like the informant, the
can you
wireman.
pay attention up till the end? I could not pay attention.
I'm
at a
wondering if I
meeting.
could now. I don't know why it would be any different. I was still an adult when I. Yeah, you're right. These meetings generally
Those
lasted.
Sunday meetings are a snooze.
Yeah. And it used to be, that's one change that I mentioned is that they've actually cut back the amount of meetings per week. But we'd go 3 times a week, and they would last between an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the meeting. And yeah, I can't say, my whole growing up I was in it well into my 20s, and I don't think I ever could hold my attention even partially.
Yeah.
I mean, we were the dickheads that sat and giggled and played hangman the whole time.
At 16, 17 years old.
Opening up some hard candy during the prayer.
Yeah. Sunday was the worst because it was like one guy for an hour or 50 minutes or whatever like that. And there's not even a break. It's like a song.
Yeah.
And then
That's really going to relax me.
and then you
having
go
to get up and sing.
Oh, I remember one of the weird dreams I had last night. You were telling me about writing them down. It's that we were at an assembly.
Yeah, I suggest you start writing your dreams down. It's really fascinating.
Good thing we were talking about this. Like, I would have been trying to remember all day what that dream was. But we were at an assembly of Jehovah's Witnesses, and people were doing the things during the song where, like, you raise your hand up, praise God, or raise two hands
We never
up.
actually saw that.
This is not what Jehovah's Witnesses do, but
No,
you know
this is
what I
what
mean.
makes it a dream. Yeah, I know what you're testifying.
Yeah,
type thing.
we were seeing that in the dream, and we're like, what the fuck has happened? Like, it's so different now. And then in the back was Jesse Eisenberg, and he was a Jehovah's Witness, and we were asking him what was going on with that, and he's like, yeah, I don't know who these people are, but this just started. It was really weird.
I guess
Jesse
so.
Eisenberg was there.
Why are you dreaming about Jesse Eisenberg?
I don't know.
It's not like we fell asleep to Squid and the Whale. Then I'd understand.
I had just read an article about him in Entertainment Weekly. Well, it was about Zombieland, but they talked to him and his resemblance to Michael Cera. Not necessarily just physically, but in the role.
I was going to say not physically, but yeah, they do basically both play the same character over and over again.
Yeah.
Although Michael Cera looks like he's going to branch out for Youth in Revolt.
I don't know. He's still playing the wimpy kid half the time, right?
No, he's not a wimpy kid. At least if they stick to the book, which I recommend everybody read over the movie. But no, he wasn't like a Michael Cera type in the book so much. I mean, physically, yes, but the kid spends the whole thing talking like a 70-year-old man. Like, it's kind of like Confederacy of Dunces in the sense that this guy's basically made up his own language. So I'm hoping they stick with that. I don't know. I saw the trailer and it looks promising. I guess I could apologize before we go on about any gross sniffing or coughing fits that somebody might hear.
Yeah, apologize to those listening, not to me.
And I think my roommate should apologize to me because I think she's the one that got me sick. And I, in turn, am going to get your wife and daughter and you sick, and I apologize for that.
They've had flu shots.
Okay, well, that's good. I have a friend that gets flu shots for kicks. How about you?
I've never gotten a flu shot, or except for probably when we were little kids, but I don't really see the point.
I don't even know if that's legal to say that you've never gotten a flu shot.
Randy from our...
Working in the restaurant business, I mean?
Randy from our... What? No.
I just made up facts.
Randy from our... Speaking of making up facts from the bonus episode...
our very first
conspiracy
bonus
guy.
episode, I think it came between episodes 13 and 14.
Yeah, he will give you a laundry list of reasons not to get a vaccine.
And a laundry list of reasons about how 9/11 was a scam, right?
Oh, and about
Does he believe the
anything
buildings fell from the inside?
I don't know what he believes, to be honest.
We got to get him back on and
Not
ask him.
specifically about
I don't know
that.
why we didn't talk about 9/11 with him last time, or
see,
did we?
The thing is that you can't sit him down and be like, hey, let's just have a whole episode where we talk about 9/11, because he'll just manipulate the conversation into whatever he's read on the internet the day before.
Usually about hating Jews.
Yeah. And now all he talks to me all the time is if we were having legal troubles with Planned Parenthood, and how they're...
We should talk about that someday.
Yeah.
I want to make sure the water is truly settled before we get into it again.
Should we? Because what about the disclaimer?
Well, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's been going for the last few episodes now. Oh, you're talking about our pitch to the listener.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, if anybody... They had to have noticed that we put a disclaimer at the beginning of each episode now that we're not affiliated with Planned Parenthood.
Legally binding.
That was our idea to put it in there. It was not a demand by them or anything like that.
That is true, but we will continue to do it.
Yeah.
But we want to change it up a little bit, I think, is
Yeah.
what we're getting at.
So if anybody wants to record that disclaimer, and it's on our Libsyn page.
Yeah, it's pretty much on all of our web presence now, MySpace, Facebook. But you've heard it before. If anybody wants to do their own, and please don't stray too much because that might get us in trouble.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to say too much, but if somebody wants to record that, I guess if you have a podcast of your own, let's say,
Yeah.
or you just have the equipment to do so, most laptops have built-in mics now.
Well,
you can send us an MP3, but it might be easier to just call our... Am I talking too fast?
No, yeah.
It might be easier to just leave us a voicemail and we can play it that way at the beginning of the show.
206-474-6776.
That's funny because that's our old phone number growing
Yeah,
up, not the
that's right.
206.
I think we had 206 for a while before it switched to 253. But yeah, and you don't have to make it funny. If you just want to read it and send it to us, we like to get a new voice every time.
Can I give the phone number, please?
Yeah.
206-338-7562.
338-7562.
Yep. We'd really appreciate it, just to change it up. You know, it gets boring hearing your wife's sped-up voice every time.
Yeah.
Nothing against her sped-up voice.
Where were we? Where were we?
I just gave away a trade secret. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Why did Planned Parenthood come up again?
I don't recall.
Oh, man. I was going somewhere. Oh, I remember. When Randy was asking about that all the time, it was about how theirs is a company, Planned Parenthood is a company that is one of the rulers of the world and the Jews and the New World Order.
Really?
And everything about that. And then what were we going to do about it? I mentioned the ACLU, America Civil Liberties Union, where they do pro bono, freedom of speech cases.
Okay.
And he just laughed in my face, and don't I know that it's the same exact Jew that runs that and Planned Parenthood. And I'm just asking for a world of trouble getting involved in that organization. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess
we could bring him back to talk about 9/11, but the point is he won't stay on point.
Even when it's something as fascinating to him, I'm sure, as 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like he'd have so much that he was
Right.
excited to say. But you're right. It'll quickly change to
he wants to get whatever
Korean War.
whatever his current state of emergency is. He wants to let everyone know that, and he asked to come back on the show all the time.
Well, you work with him, correct?
Yeah, he really, really wants to come back on. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I used to tell him we're going to repeat some other guests first, and then we'll get you back.
I thought he was going to start his own podcast with some real old, weird crony
Well,
guy.
he only wanted to do that if he could record it in my apartment with that guy with the scary beard and publish it under our name. He didn't want his
Well,
name
your kid is
on it.
horrified and hiding in the
Right.
bathroom.
Yeah, so that was not going to work. But he always wants to come back, and he's like, oh, I understand that maybe it wasn't as comedic as you like. I thought it was very comedic.
Yeah.
I thought you were spot on that day.
Was I? It's been too long since
And
I've
I think
heard that
I
one.
was as well, yeah. And even he had
I think
some
he's due
funny,
back. It's probably been almost exactly a year now.
Yeah.
We'll make him a one-time-a-year guest because I don't think we could handle much more than that.
But then he also says, oh, and we were all pretty excited, so we're all kind of talking over each other a lot, which is basically
Every
him
episode?
saying that we were interrupting him too much, like wasn't letting him get his message out there.
And this is before you'd worked up the bit where I'm the star of the goddamn show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we didn't chide him too much.
But I yell at him about that now at work when he tries to say I was interrupting him.
So we made that clear, how people can get that
I think what we made clear
disclaimer to us.
is to get your flu shots.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's in the disclaimer.
Oh, and while we're doing all the boring stuff, just to get this out of the way, our
Why
Libsyn
not
page,
right at the beginning of the show?
yeah, our Libsyn page needs to be updated, and I need somebody's help to do that. But that's not why I'm talking about it. We can figure it out ourselves. But in the meantime, if people want to send us emails, our previous email addresses, partly due to the fiasco with Planned Parenthood, don't exist anymore, at least for the time being. So we have a very generic plannedbrotherhood@yahoo.com right now. But we check it regularly.
Yeah.
Please do so. Okay, that's it.
You
You want to talk about Mom?
Yeah, let's talk about Mom.
Okay, you've got the. I before we start in on Mom, because people are expecting it, I want to say we took a good
She's bringing this on herself.
yes.
We had not talked about her for a long time. She's begging for it.
Uh,
We're giving her exactly what she wants.
in a way, when did that Facebook?
August 18th.
What I was going to say is, I think it's fair to say we gave Mom a little bit of a break these last few episodes. We actually haven't talked about family at all in, say, 3 episodes?
Yeah.
And that wasn't even about Mom. That was about our cousin Tiffany. It's a great episode. People should go back and listen. That's episode 61, by the way. But I think that's been the last time. And it's not because we couldn't have been talking about Mom, because she's been pretty crazy. But last night kind of took it over the top, and we can't hold back. Plus, we didn't have anything else really to talk about.
Yeah.
But this goes back to, when did you say? I'm sorry that I got that text.
August 18th.
Okay, and strangely, you're going to read the text that I received because
Yeah.
it's only accessible on Facebook. But so this is a text I got from Mom on August 18th.
It says, your podcast has caused a rift between us.
Out of the fucking blue, she sends this to us. Or to me.
If I hear back from you, perhaps we can work things out. If I don't hear back from you, I will leave you alone.
See, first of all, I don't like the ultimatum aspect.
Yeah.
That seems unnecessary.
And you know that it's not going to stick.
Now,
'Cause
Mom...
if all you have to do is not reply to that text and she leaves us alone, then that'd be great.
Yeah, you see how she made it very clear that it could be over if I want it to be over. Meanwhile, whenever that was sent, what is the timestamp on that?
4:20.
Of course. Well, then about 6 hours later, I get another text from her basically saying the same thing. If you want this to work, I was like, clearly I had 6 hours to text you back. But I think this stems from, she sent this, first of all, she always claims to stop having listened to the show.
Yeah, having stopped listening to the show.
Exactly.
And but although in the beginning it was how proud she was of us and blah blah blah, everything like that.
Yeah, but
She thinks that we're somehow sullying her reputation. Like anyone who listens knows her, and like she doesn't wear gangster hats and Desperate Housewives T-shirts everywhere.
she doesn't
Like,
think of herself that way.
What
though.
are you trying to protect?
The few friends.
But all we're doing is just saying things. We're giving our own memories.
I know, but you know how she is.
She fucked it up back then.
Yeah, and she'll never accept that. This has all been covered, but I want to say that a few friends of mine that listen to the show that are like actual friends, the ones that haven't met Mom and Dad but know so much about them are fascinated to meet them.
Yeah.
Which I think is weird, but I guess I kind of get it. It's just one of those things where they'd be excited to meet them, and then the second they met them, they'd want to leave.
Yeah, maybe we could surprise Mom by coming over one day and just videotape and put on YouTube, and that should curb everyone's appetite.
Yeah, I've already seen her spring up on People of Walmart a couple of times. Have you been to that website?
No. Oh, peopleofwalmart.com?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's into that website right now. I'll look at it when it calms down a little.
I can tell you that what I don't like about that website is the two guys, I assume it's two guys that run it, are a bunch of smug, arrogant assholes. Like, I looked at their FAQ on the pictures themselves are funny enough, but they write all these shitty captions below them.
Yeah,
and
the
they
captions
just have, like, a misogynistic fuck you attitude. Anyway, so I don't recommend that site. But there was this great picture. We'll get back to Mom in a second, but there was this great picture of this guy, and he was humongous, like over 300 pounds, and he was one in one of those little motorized scooters.
Yeah.
And he had a shirt, and on the back it said, "I hate queers." I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. I almost chose that as my desktop for my laptop.
I feel like I could find some pretty funny people at Walmart, but I hate to be one of those guys that says Walmart disgusts me, but it really does.
Why does it, though? Is it because you saw the documentary?
No, I haven't seen that documentary. It's just the people there. The people there, like, there's no dress
So it's nothing
code.
about their... Oh, so it is about work ethic and stuff.
No, I'm not talking about employees. I'm talking about for customers. Like,
Oh, I see, yeah.
Like 300 pounds in a sports bra and really short shorts.
Yeah.
Like, it's just out of control, ridiculous. As far as, like, their policies, I don't care about anything like Walmart itself.
Watch that movie, you'll change your mind.
I know that we have a lot of family employed by Walmart, both on Mom's and Dad's side.
Who on Mom's side?
There used to be a lot of people on Mom's side.
That's
that
true,
worked at
because
Walmart.
Mom grew up in Susanville, and eventually they got a Walmart, and that was like the hugest deal ever.
Yeah.
We'd run over there, buy some Pogs.
And it probably gives 200 people in the town a job.
Yeah, no kidding. Between that and now, I guess they have a casino. That's where everybody migrated to work
yeah,
now.
Susanville, yeah. Anyway, back to Mom.
Yeah, so the podcast is causing a rift. She sent this text shortly after, I believe it was episode, forgive me if I'm wrong, 58, Lock the Gate.
I'm sure they'll forgive you.
Yeah. Or maybe it was Diary of the Dead to Me, episode 56. Either way, we kind of laid into Mom a little bit.
I know one person who doesn't care, and it's Red. And he's going to be mad that...
Oh, all the exposition?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to hear Red rail on me for exposition, go to episode 57, Vulture Food. Oh, yeah, so this text that I get from Mom that PJ just read, talking as if you're not here. Yeah, it came shortly after whatever episode it was where you and I had that argument about I was defending the idea of possibly getting CPS to look into Mom's care of our sister Melissa.
Yeah.
And
Not that you were going to take over care of her, that you just wanted to randomly place her with some stranger.
we don't need to get into this discussion/argument again. Not right now, anyway. But I'm sure that's what she heard, and she was horribly offended. But again, quit saying you, stop listening when you continue to listen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where it all started, and I've blatantly ignored her. That's been a month and a half now since that came, up until last week, and then all was apparently forgiven, even though I hadn't said a single thing to mend things, you know. and she wanted me to come over, which is now the most, for those reasons I already mentioned alone, the disgusting house, the mistreatment of Melissa. Like, I just don't like spending time there, and she can't understand that.
Yeah, plus now all this other baggage that goes along with it. I heard what you said about me and stuff like that.
Right, knowing that she heard everything I had to say about her, especially recently, and calling me on it, that doesn't necessarily put me in a place where I'm like, hey, let's go eat a steak with dog hair on it now.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, let's work this out and come over and stuff like that. But what's probably better is that if you actually went, it probably would never even come up.
But
Like,
that makes it even weirder
she's
somehow.
not gonna
Like,
actually confront
if
you
you can
about
fucking
it.
hassle me by text for 2 weeks on the subject, why not? Although
You'd
what does
have
that
to
say about me? I'm apparently so passive aggressive that I would go there and just hope it doesn't come up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you wanted it to, you'd have to say, let's go and let's talk about this.
But that involves, like, I have to psych myself
Tell
up by
Vincent
getting
to leave the room because he's not my dad.
Skin color alone will tell you that. But yeah, so
I'm gonna cut when you said that. By the way,
why was it too? Did it come across as racist? Like, not
Yes.
funny, pretend racist?
not funny.
I wasn't shitting on
Pretend
racist.
racist.
You know what color shit is, right?
Sounds like you hate queers and blacks.
Yeah, this is not coming off well for me today. Now you're making me paranoid. You take over the mom story.
No,
No, I should say that she all is forgiven. She just misses me a ton, and she wants me to come over. And or first she sent me one. She always even by text.
And this was how long after that text you got in August?
This is only last week, so it had been over a month,
Okay.
and there had been no contact at all. And so she sends me a text that basically says, I want you to come over this weekend. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. But I was nice enough about it. I just said, I can't go this weekend. Sorry. And then the next one I get is like, no problem. Our next weekend off is on the 24th. If you want to come then, we miss you bunches. Smiley face. And that was it. And I was like, well, at least I won't hear from her again until that weekend. But since then, apparently, I don't even know how to get into this now. I got a text from her last night while you
Right.
were here.
Well,
First from Aunt Denise, who
Well,
lives with Mom.
Let's say this: a couple days ago, you posted some pictures on Facebook from
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to get into that yet, but
from
yeah,
my daughter's birthday party.
which took place at Dad's house, and we'll also get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I posted a photo.
I'm just saying that the photos were there from a birth. I don't even know if Mom knew that it was at Dad's house.
She obviously figured it out.
Oh, did she mention that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'll hear the rest of the story.
Yeah. Why don't you calm down a little bit?
Okay.
You've already been talking at least 12% of this episode. Yeah, so I think it was pretty apparent. These photos only went up like 2 days ago. I devoted a photo album to your beautiful daughter, Sophia. I called it Happy Birthday, Sophia. So Mom, first of all, picks up from that she sees her with her darling ballerina cake and a bunch of gifts. So whether she knew it was at Dad's house or not, she was pissed about not being involved.
Yeah. But why would she be when she's sending psychotic text messages the weeks, leading
She'd
up
given it
to
a month, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and you never get the brunt of this.
Oh, I know.
I think she's too afraid of you at this point.
Well, I mean,
Because you can lord your daughter's presence over
She
her.
hated me growing up, and I hated her growing up, and
She just
she'll,
wants you
of
to forget
course,
the
hear
past,
that and
BJ.
go, "What the hell is that all about?" I loved him more than anything.
Yeah.
I never wrote, "I'm going to kill myself and it's his fault" in my diary.
I never
Like,
hit that guy on the head with a rolling pin.
She can just pretend like stuff like that didn't happen. So, but she knows, and that's why she doesn't contact me.
I think a part of her really doesn't know anymore.
Then
I think she's allowed herself to forget these things and think she was Mother of the Year every year.
Then how come she doesn't text me as much as she does you?
Because she knows you're angry. She just doesn't know where it stems from. She can't wrap her head around it. She doesn't understand, PJ.
Yeah, maybe.
She just wants to be a grandma.
I would really.
She's waited her whole life to be a grandma, apparently. It's the first I heard of it.
I would really like therapy.
You think?
I think we've talked about that.
We have,
before.
but and again, I don't think I could handle it. Although it, and again, I will compare therapy to this podcast. This is a much cheaper version. The mic's
Yeah.
already paid for.
But if you get a good enough therapist who can tell you how to work beyond this stuff.
Yeah, well, you're the one that is plagued by dreams of your past.
Yeah.
I never really have that. I mean, occasionally, we were talking about this today on our way home from breakfast. You'll have dreams often of all of a sudden living in the old house again, right?
Yeah, but as adults with my wife and kid, but still with mom and dad are in charge. And
Yeah.
usually it's like dad telling me to do something and me like just going, "What are you, crazy? I'm a married man. I don't have to do it." And I think even in the dream, like I know it's weird, like maybe I think it's some kind of experiment that we're all living together. I need an analyst, as the New Yorkers call therapists. I need an analyst to tell me what all this is about.
That does sound less pussy when you say it that way.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't do it. Although I do enjoy a nice couch.
Yeah. So Mom sends you a text last night. Was the first one from Mom, or was it from Aunt Denise? And we've mentioned Aunt Denise before. She's Mom's sister who's staying with Mom.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked about Denise, Mom probably heard that too and was not pleased. I hope Denise hasn't heard it, and I hope she doesn't hear this one, because we're going to go ahead and expose this really personal text message that she sent me. So,
but we're not laying into her.
A little
We're not saying
background.
anything bad about Denise.
A little background on last night. Let's see. This text came in from Aunt Denise at, I guess it was pretty early, but we were drunk all day.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge time. 6:34 p.m. But, yeah, just so people know, you came in on the bus yesterday a little, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I didn't have any marijuana at the time, and I am flat broke. You've been coasting me through. I'll pay you back tomorrow. But so we didn't have much to do. We were just hanging out here, completely sober. And so within like 20 minutes of awkward conversation, and people are thinking, what? These guys, if anything, they can talk under any circumstances. But it's not true. We know
We're
that.
socially awkward. Even
Plus,
though-
my DVD player's broken, so there's
Yeah.
not that distraction.
Yeah, that was fucking awful.
It's been pretty awkward, huh? You've got a whole other night of...
No, I've been reading a little bit.
Yeah, and we've been listening to podcasts.
And we don't have to talk and talk and talk. We can.
No, we got to bottle all that up for this here show. But yeah, so your idea at like 1:30 or 2 was, let's go get a drink. And apparently based on some Philip Marlowe novels you've been reading, you're really obsessed with gimlets now?
Well, it's because Sam, on the last episode we did with Sam and Jeff, he just said
Episode
the name.
54.
He just said the name Philip Marlowe. And in editing,
That's the same reason I mentioned Kerouac on the road once and you barely heard of it.
Yeah.
And then within the next week you had already read it and fucking loved it.
yeah, and now I'm a Kerouac.
You're reading a lot of classics these days.
Anyway.
No, it's not book
So I
corner time?
researched it, but also that show Bored to Death. Have you seen that on HBO?
No, how is it?
It's all right. And in the first episode, like, he's kind of really into the Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe books. So I got one. I've been reading it. It's called The Long Goodbye. And
I just find it amusing how adaptable you are to things that you suddenly become obsessed with.
Well-
the fact that you ordered a gimlet at every bar we went to last night. In some cases, more than one.
well,
In some cases,
it
you
was like
threw
in the
up.
40s, and they were men, and they were drinking gimlets. And then I had one the night before, last night.
Did you explain what it is? It's
After
basically
work.
just gin and lime juice, right?
Yeah, gin and preferably Rose's lime juice, just half and half. And it's delicious. It's really good. So, yeah, so I decided to order those everywhere we went yesterday. The guy at that bar, Shorty's, was not loving me for it.
Yeah, but you tipped him well, and then he was okay, right?
Yeah.
And then you threw up in their bathroom.
Later on.
Did you get caught for that?
No.
Andy's been kicked out out of that because that bathroom at Shorty's, this bar that I often go to, there's not really a top or bottom to any of the doors.
Well, you couldn't
Girls
even,
can watch you taking a piss as they're walking to the bathroom.
you couldn't
themselves.
even lock the stall door that I was in. I couldn't lock it. I was holding it shut with my hand.
Oh yeah, they haven't fixed that. It's been that way a while.
Yeah. But I mean, I was conscious of it. I was more making myself throw up so that I could feel better.
Yeah.
Like it's all sitting in one ball or whatever like that. So it's not
Plus,
like
we
I
should
was,
say we didn't eat anything all
Right.
day, and this is well into the night, like 9 or 10 o'clock.
I had eaten cocktail pep and I was throwing up a little of that.
Oh,
Little
gross.
Pepperoni sticks.
At least it wasn't blood like you first thought.
Yeah. But so I wasn't like passed out on the ground uncontrollably vomiting. Like I was standing there and going, okay, it's okay. You're in a good environment. Just throw up now, not in the middle of the table. So I'd do that, and then I'd wait a couple seconds and make sure
And then
no one
Marie
came
bought us
in.
another pitcher.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't touch that.
No, you were ready to go, and we came back. It was about 11. We ate the most delicious pizza of our lives.
But while we're still there, and before I vomited,
Yeah, the first one came in at 6:34. I'm just letting people know that we were both pretty toasted already.
we
Okay,
were not in a good frame of mind.
No. And I'm surprised that I didn't lash out and write them right back.
Yeah.
As of right now, I have not responded to anything. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself again. Okay, so this is Aunt Denise. Hi. Is it Aunt Denise or is it Mom texting from Aunt Denise's phone?
No, I'm sure
We'll
it's
let the listeners judge.
Mom telling her, asking her, write this, write this.
Okay, so it says, Hi. Please let me know what is going on between you and PJ and your mom. She is heartbroken. She was excluded from Sophie's birthday party. Hold on, I got to...
See, yeah, that definitely sounds like Denise to me. And I don't want to get into a whole Denise conversation, but when I stayed with Daniel in California, who's her son, our cousin.
Right.
We
should get him on the show someday.
It
That guy's a weirdo.
It did not go well at all, and I was not having a good time because I mean I was supposed to be moving there, like I was staying there to live. This wasn't just a visit.
Yeah, I never knew Antonice well enough to be on bad terms with her, but you certainly had that.
Yeah,
that one little thing that seemed to go on for years, right?
And you know, it was really pretty much Mom's fault because I would, you know, like during it, I would talk to Mom on the phone, and I would tell Mom like, oh, you know, I don't really like it here. This is what's going on. Me and Daniel we barely knew each other. I mean, we're cousins, and that's it. And he had spent like a month with us the year before, or something like that. So I mean, we got along good. But
until he started spending all his nights at the whorehouses, right, and throwing up on his carpet. And leaving it there for days at a time. I can understand you're wanting to move out.
But see, that's things that I told you. I didn't tell Mom things like, oh, he was going out to the whorehouse and stuff like that. I was just like, I don't like it here. He threw up on me. There's no money. The place is freezing cold. We have no food. Like, I had gone there with maybe $200 I had saved.
And how old were you?
17.
Yeah, you shouldn't even have this as an option.
Yeah. I didn't.
But
have
we should
any
remind
options.
people that's right around the time our family self-destructed.
I didn't have any options. I was trying out little things. But anyway, so when I came back, like Mom called Denise and she's like, "Oh, PJ says this happened and this happened," and totally ratted out Daniel to Denise. And then Denise calls me and she's all fucking pissed about what I was saying about her family. And at least my kid lives on his own and he didn't have to run back home to daddy. Like Denise got pretty fucking vicious. And then so kind of took the high road on that one and just never talked to her, listened to that message, and then
and you never saw her again up until whenever this summer, right?
Yeah, and that didn't come up, of course, and that was 11 years ago.
Oh, there's more to the text.
Okay,
she wants to know what she has done and what she can do to make things better.
Mom wants to know.
Yes. Please text or call me back. Love, Antonice. I love how both Mom and Antonice sign off a text like it's a letter.
Yeah.
So that was at 6:34. I don't respond. We continue to drink. But then at 10:30 last night, so Mom's just getting off of work. Obviously, she's been thinking about it, plotting it in her head already.
But we had wanted to text. We're like, tell her. I was like,
yeah. What was your suggestion?
I was like, why don't you just tell her to fucking text me if she wants to talk about it, but then I was saying things like, text Mom, hey, Sophie's birthday was at Dad's house. Did
you really expect to be invited? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I almost texted back, and I probably would have, but I just forgot about it. The scent of your gimlet got in my nose. And so this is 4 hours later, much drunker, and here's Mom, probably also drunk. Just disregard what Denise said. I spend a lot of time and sadness over what's going on, and she offered to help. I just wish we could all be like...
What a good way to help. You know what I mean? It's just, like I was saying with that message she left me, the whole point of it was that, like, this is what she does, like... although she's writing it in a much nicer tone, like, I don't like what's going on between you and your mother. Somehow I'm going to involve myself in it. Let's talk this out.
Right. And then I like this last line from Mom. I just wish we could all be like before the podcast. Now,
Which is how?
I've thought about that a lot, yeah. Like, what memories does she have, or has she, like, misremembered?
It's got to be the 1 year before the podcast when Sophie was around, after Sophie was born. And
yeah, but even that first year, you made a point not to see Mom that much.
Right, but she would come over a lot.
But now you pretty much made a point.
I'm just saying that in that year, she came more times to visit, even after we started the podcast for a while, than like any other time since I haven't lived with her anymore. I had never, so she's like that year... Like, we all saw each other way more than we had, like, in the last 6 years combined.
And it's sad to say, but she kind of fucked this one up for herself.
Yeah.
Just
let us do our thing. Don't listen to it.
I know, and she legitimately did stop for a while, and I don't know what it was that drew her back.
Yeah.
Maybe finding out that Melissa, her daughter, our sister, was secretly listening to it.
Does it?
We're clouding her head with terrible things.
What does the podcast have to do with her feeling excluded from Sophie's birthday party? That's got nothing to do with it.
No, she's just mixing two emotions in one here. So I didn't respond back at all. And then I was telling you, just before we started here, you were setting up all the equipment. And I got a new one from her. So this is a day later. This is today, 11:58 a.m. I wish you would at least text me back. I miss you. It tears me up to see how Denise is with her kids. And then again, I miss how we were.
Yeah. So Denise is very close with her kids, is what she's implying.
Yes.
I think it all goes
and I
back
can't speak
to...
for how Denise was as a mother because I wasn't around.
Right.
But there's probably a reason that Denise has a good relationship with her kids.
Yeah.
She did something differently than Mom did raising us.
Yeah, at least there was whatever dysfunction there was, it was always like, well, I'm your mother, and, you know...
That's all she has. It's like, I birthed you.
Yeah.
That's it.
I remember as a little kid, and I think I told this exact story before, as a little kid, Mom saying that she was going to have to go to the mental hospital, which is a very real threat for us because we had an aunt who was in one. Mm-hmm. So, like, we knew her.
Yeah,
was.
her family has a background of mental illness.
And she would say that she was literally going crazy and she was going to have to go to the mental hospital, and I can go to sleep knowing that it's all my fault. And she said it once right in front of Denise, and Denise was like, "You." And Denise had, we might cut the. I think Denise had been hospitalized for exhaustion or something of the sort.
I thought only celebrities got to use that.
At one point, and she was like, "You cannot tell your son that it's going to be his fault." When I went away, all my kids thought it was their fault, and it took everything we had to convince them that it wasn't. And Mom's just like, "Oh, I'm just going to blame you. I don't want to blame myself or my DNA or anything like that." Like, she just wanted to put all the blame on me. So Denise's relationship with her kids is justified in that way. But all Mom cares about is the fact that when we were there, one of Denise's kids had left her son with her for like a month.
With Mom, yeah.
That's what Mom's jealous of. Like, no, I'm sorry that I'm not going to leave my kid with you, and let alone
I guess
from
I hadn't
another
even thought
state.
about that, but yeah, obviously she sees that. She sees, everybody else referring to Denise as grandma.
Yeah,
and she knows technically she is, but she doesn't feel like one because she doesn't see the baby.
yeah, and Denise sees her grandkids all the time, but Denise's kids can stand to be around her.
Yeah, and frankly, I can stand to be around Denise a little more than Mom.
Yeah, I'd rather be around.
At least
Denise.
she's calm.
Yeah,
I'm not saying she's rational, but she's calm.
And so let's talk about this birthday party, because Mom was not missing out on anything. And it was all just a big sort of circumstance. I'll start by saying this. We talk as much about Dad on this show.
Not true.
Oh, okay. But that's because Mom inserts herself in it so much.
True.
But we give a
There's not drama to, constantly be reporting about Dad.
We never hold back in saying, what Dad did as a husband that was bad, and as a father that was bad, and what he continues to do poorly as a husband and a father.
He's a pretty good grandfather, though, strangely.
Yeah, but so we're honest about that. So all I'm saying is that we talk about him, and we're honest about at least my anger with him on the podcast. But when we're coming to the Puyallup Fair for my daughter's second birthday party, they wanted to see her. They had been to Yakima a little bit before.
You're talking about Dad and her stepmom?
Dad and Debbie, who we can say her name apparently all of a sudden.
Isn't Neckfurters more fun, though?
Okay. So
I'm just kidding.
They had come over, and they put to us, they were like, we just really want to know if sometime we can take Sophie overnight. We'd love to watch her overnight for you guys. And
yeah, we've talked about it on the show. You were still debating at the time whether or not you were actually going to go through with that.
Right. Because it wasn't an easy thing. But what it comes down to is that they are sane enough. You know what I mean? They don't have any wild, crazy ideas. They definitely are two people who shouldn't be married to each other and who don't get along at all.
Right.
But do I think they can get their shit together long enough for an overnight stay with my daughter? Turns out, yeah, because we're like, okay, we'll let her spend the night there. That way we can have a night in Seattle. Us over 21-year-olds go to a restaurant. We had dinner. We had drinks, stuff like that.
Yeah, let me ask you this, though. When we initially dropped Sophie off, I had gone with you guys, and so we only stayed there long enough for you guys to say, what she likes to eat, when she's going to go to bed.
Right.
When to give her bath and all that shit, and
here's another difference though. They had gone all out too. This is something that Mom would not do. Mom would be like, "Oh, she can sleep on Melissa's bed, I guess, unless you want to bring like a little travel, or she can sleep places where we don't want Sophie sleeping."
There's nowhere in that house that it would be safe for her to sleep in.
Not safe sleeping. Dad and Debbie really cleaned up for the occasion. Their
Well,
house,
plus their house is
right,
always
it's
immaculately
like,
clean.
spotless. Yeah.
Yeah. But in addition to that,
They
yeah,
took time to baby-proof the apartment. They
had security gates on the.
Yeah.
Not that she needed that, I guess.
These are just things. These are just steps that when you think about should
they had
I
a basket full of books for her.
right? Should I let her stay at my dad's house? Well, I think they're going to do all this stuff. I knew they would. So yeah, so that sounds fine. Now, if Mom were to ask, "Can I watch Sophie overnight?" I'm going to think, is Mom going to take these same steps? And no.
No. I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot of cigarette smoking in the house. How can
Well,
we?
there's not anymore. Neither of them smoke.
Oh, who, Denise or?
Denise smokes. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a lot of smoking in front of kids in that house.
Yeah, and I don't want to pompously say it, but I would have to, like, hey, Denise, do you mind anytime if you smoke a cigarette, maybe wash your hands before you pick up the baby? Like, that's just a rude thing to ask, but something that I would insist on.
Yeah, and even when I stay at your house, I know that as fact, and I learned that very early on.
Yeah.
Once we come back in from smoking, I'm going to wash my hands.
Yeah.
I wash my hands never feel more clean than when I'm at your house.
So I just want to say that the conditions were good enough, and I trust Dad enough to where that's why I decided, yeah, she can spend the night.
Okay,
there.
but what I was going to ask you is when we first showed up to drop her off, and you guys were going through all the steps. She likes to watch Dora before she falls asleep. All this crazy shit. You guys went on forever, but it seemed Debbie, especially our stepmom, was really like on the brink of a panic, asking questions.
Yeah.
Like she was just so worried. Like she's raised kids of her own. How must have she been as a mom?
And the thing is,
and that's not necessarily a slam on her. I felt more, and I know I'm not a parent. Fuck me, I'm just the uncle. But I felt more nervous after having dropped her off, just because it didn't seem. I mean, they were prepared for it in the way that they had everything ready to go, but she seemed terrified.
If it was two Debbies, I wouldn't have left it. But Dad was there, and Dad was concerned enough and asking way too many questions. But I think at her prompting and to make her feel better. But I mean, you don't want to go in there and just say, oh, just let her watch TV before bed and she's fine. We'll sit there and we'll answer all their ridiculous questions. Should I put down a thing under where she eats? And yes, that's fine.
Or
do whatever you want to do.
Would you be offended? Isn't that how he asked?
I don't want you to be offended, but we have a sheet of plastic to put under her while she eats.
Well, she's 2. Good plan.
Yeah.
And your carpet is white. I understand.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. One quick Sophie story I want to tell. Your daughter Sophie saved the day, I think, from the beginning, because Debbie was having a shit fit, like I said.
And our main worry was if
are we going to have to
Sophie
sneak out of the house?
Yeah,
is she
Sophie's
going to
be super cranky. Like she doesn't really know them. So, and the
I
thing
think it's
is,
fair to say Sophie's kind of a mama's girl, and I've seen, maybe not so much recently, but she has sometimes, like if we leave her at Lori's house or something, she can sometimes throw a fit about it.
It's just fucking hit and miss, and we're like, if we do that, she'll be fine a half an hour, but how much will they panic in the half an hour it takes for her to calm down? Like they're just gonna want to, it's just gonna be, they're gonna take it way too seriously, I think.
Yeah, but so going back to your daughter, like we couldn't have been there for more than 5 minutes, and Debbie and Dad pull out their scroll of questions, and then Sophie runs over to this picture that's on a little side table in the couch in the living room, and it's a picture of Dad and Debbie together, and she points at it and says, "Grandma, Grandpa," and Debbie, from that moment on, I could tell was on top of the world, dude. That's all it took.
Well, the last thing Dad
Sophie knows what the fuck she's saying, but still, it was flattering.
The last thing Dad had said before we actually showed up there to me on the phone was like how sad Debbie was because the last time they were in Yakima, Sophie didn't want to give her a hug. And like I say,
that
you
seems
can't
like
really
irrational
take that
thinking
personally.
to me.
Yeah, you can't take that personally. That shouldn't be a topic of conversation on the way home.
Never have I taken anything personal that your daughter's done to me, except that time she threw the remote at my head. That was uncalled for.
So when that happened, when she looked at that picture and said that, and this is gonna, of course, destroy fucking Mom when she hears it. But you know what I mean?
She doesn't listen anymore.
Like they got their shit together, and we did there. And then because they watched her overnight, and because we were very grateful to it, and we were very happy, everything went well. We had said, well, tomorrow when we pick her up.
Hold on, I'm sorry, but we didn't know how it was going to go. Like I said, we were a little nervous leaving. I mean, we had a great time hanging out without her that night.
Yeah,
nothing against her, but she can't get into bars.
Yeah.
So we were questioning as soon as we got in the car, though, and we're leaving. I mean, she was fine. She didn't cry. Like I said, she apparently had a really great time. All the pictures I've seen that are now available on Facebook, she seemed to be having a good time. But, yeah, I remember as soon as we got in the car, you're like, I hope that we don't get a phone call at 9:30 saying she won't stop crying, and what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I didn't want was, like, I wanted to be
And you
able to
didn't
trust. If we leave her there, can you handle it? Can I not get a phone call? Because sometimes she wakes up in the middle of the night screaming uncontrollably. Like, are you going to be okay with that? Like, I'm not worried that this is going to, like, I don't think that that's such an awful thing to happen, but just like in that environment, like I want to prepare you because Dad did not handle it well if Melissa wouldn't sleep through the night. And I know he's much different than that now. Much calmer now, and it's,
he's no longer the
it's
baby
his
shaker.
grandkid, and he better keep his shit together as far as his temper would go.
I don't think he has only remnants of a temper.
I'm
now.
just saying you can trust all of that.
Yeah.
You can trust it explicitly.
Definitely.
And so that's why we had the birthday party at their house, because
Which was the
already
next
where they
day
were.
when we went to go pick up Sophia.
And it was not much of a party.
No. Let's see. Where do we start with this?
Well,
The party was at their house.
their main concern has always been spend the least amount of money on as possible on anything. On anything. Like everything's like
I don't really get that from them.
really? Everything's about money with them. They mention the price of like every single fucking thing that they've ever bought. And you can get it 10 cents cheaper here and you can get it cheaper here or I always try to find something to complain about at a restaurant, that way we'll get something for free and we don't have to tip and that kind of thing.
And dollar store Dr. Pepper tastes like regular Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how they are. And so we're like, oh, we're going to get a cake. Oh, where are you going to get the cake from? Oh, that place is expensive. You should go. Okay, it's our
Are you going to
kid's
tell
cake.
I'm sorry. Are you going to tell the ice cream story
Yeah,
too?
that's
Okay.
what I'm getting to.
Good.
Let us spend money. Dad always said we had a champagne lifestyle and a soda pop income. Like, let us do it.
Did he ever say that?
Yeah, he said that a lot. Are you kidding me?
No,
you
it
don't
doesn't
remember
sound
that?
familiar at all.
Oh, you've blocked some shit out. Dude.
I know.
But we were gonna buy a cake, and they just like if they're gonna pay for something, that's cool. But like, don't say, "Oh, and we're gonna pay for that." And it costs this much money.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to buy this one for this much money because I figured this and this and this. So I eventually got this one for the like, okay, thank you. I'm sorry it was such a fucking chore.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, Dad does do that a lot.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, but I don't really think about it as much.
So
as
does
you, I don't
Debbie.
think.
And then like Dad was telling me something about my acid reflux thing and a specific kind of medicine that Debbie turned him on to, and it only costs this much money, and you get this money. Like, just everything has a price. So then we mentioned, oh, yeah, and we'll pick up ice cream. Oh, we have ice cream. We have Dixie cups. Don't waste your money. We
Instantly
have Dixie
confused
cups.
when he said Dixie cups.
Yeah. No, this is Debbie. Debbie's the one that kept saying Dixie cups, Dixie cups, Dixie cups.
Uh-huh.
We've got Dixie cups. Don't waste your you don't have to spend money on ice cream. Like, really? Because it's $2 for a half a gallon. Like, it's gonna be fine. No, Scott, show them the Dixie cups. Show them what they are.
Show him the Dixie cups.
Show them the Dixie cups, Scott. Bring those out. Like, that's serious. Oh,
We're not
going
going to eat them till the next day, and yet he has to go to the freezer and make a big demonstration of it now.
And so he holds up the
you
box.
see, we figure she wouldn't eat that much, and they come in little containers
Yeah.
if she wants more than one.
Yeah, and they're little ice cream things with wooden spoons. It's like, that's not what cake and ice cream is all about.
Oh, that's not even what I took from it. I'm just like, why does it matter? Why have we spent this much time hearing Debbie say Dixie cups?
And she's so emphatic about it that it rules buying ice cream. Like, unless you want to get into unless you want to hear from Dad how offended she was that you bought ice cream later on.
After
like,
she
that
said-
was it.
Yeah.
It was fucking Dixie cups. So, side story. Remember at the baby shower, the big where we had a keg and everyone was invited baby shower we had before Sophie was born.
Yeah, it was
and,
a lot of fun. We've talked about it.
And Mom was like, "Oh, I'll bring the cake," and she brought like 2 disgusting homemade flat ugly cakes.
Fortunately, like 4 other people brought cakes too, one of which was made of pot.
No, see, that's not the thing. Andy brought that one that had pot in it, but Alvina was such a bitch about it. She was like, "Those cakes are disgusting. we are going to go buy another cake. And Mom was really
I remember
offended.
this, yeah.
Mom was really offended by that.
Was she?
And yeah.
I just remember her and Vincent hovering over the artichoke dip the whole night.
Yeah.
Probably high out of there.
That was a real awkward night because, like, Mom had just the worst gifts, and she was so upset that Alvina wasn't more excited because Alvina does not hide her emotions when she's not excited about something.
Was it one of the laundry baskets full of rinky-dink dollar store toys?
Right. It was big, but she wants you to pull. You know, you're opening the gifts in front of 30 people, but she wants to show you each individual dollar store item
Right.
out of the basket. Like, there's no time. Anyway, so
You remember what I got, you guys?
No. Oh, a high chair. Very nice high chair.
See, I'm so good.
Yeah, we still use it for my
I'm kinda
nephew
cheap now.
We use it for.
I just bought Sophie a book this year.
But yeah, so we just didn't want that kind of offense to be taken. So we're like, all right, we'll have the fucking Dixie cups. Whatever. The next day, I was so uninterested in anything anyway.
Yeah, man,
And
you were
it
kind of a
turns out-
downer.
It turns out,
Usually when we're hanging out with Dad at his house and we're stuck there and we knew we'd be there for at least a couple hours.
I
It's
was
our birthday party.
miserable.
You were, and you weren't making it any fun for me. Usually I can at least count on you like, hey, do you want to go smoke? No, I'm fine. I'm just sitting here like a bum at the table. And you hardly drank. Like, I really felt
and
out
it
of
turned
place.
out that they had those little individual ice cream cups. There was only 2 of them, weren't there?
I don't know.
Like
I didn't have any of it.
After all that shit, there was only 2, and she was like, "Oh, we'll have to share, or maybe someone can share." It was like, "Fuck you, man! You should have just let us buy ice cream."
The ballerina cake, however, was adorable.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
We get the ballerina cake.
She
We get
opens
the-
up 10 gifts, 9 of which are Dora the Explorer related.
Yeah.
Get over it, Sophie. There are better shows to be seen.
And another My Wife's a Bitch story. Remember how upset because she wanted to get pizza from this one place and we're going to order pizza. But I knew that Dad and Debbie, because they have to have everything worked out, were going to order a pizza. And sure enough, they did and told us all about how much it was going to cost and things like that.
Right. I remember him calling and asking about toppings, right?
Yeah. Like
And then-
over and over again. Like just get some toppings.
Yeah. And we were already on their way there. And yeah, your wife has something personal against Domino's Pizza?
Yeah. She was
And
so
she-
afraid. She convinced herself that they ordered Domino's, even though they
She
hadn't
really
ordered
just
yet.
can't bring herself to eat it?
No.
So when we ate Domino's last night like assholes, was that just to spite her?
Yeah, pretty much. It was one of my only chances. But she had convinced herself that they were definitely going to order Domino's, and she was already in a piss fucking mood for the rest of the night. Turns out it's not even what they got.
No, it was some weird local thing. So we get there, and you know, she hasn't opened gifts or anything yet. We're all just kind of hanging out. They hand us a beer, so that was nice. And the first topic of conversation is Dad and Debbie first talking to themselves quietly, and then opens up to the crowd. We ordered this pizza 45 minutes ago. It's
Yeah.
just right up the street. And Dad has always kind of been that way, I guess, but Debbie really brings it out of him.
No, I don't really think he is that way. I don't think he would care to the point of calling the place. That is all Debbie.
And we've told stories before about what a bitch she is in restaurants, like I remember one time when I was still dating storytelling, and it was the first time she'd met my stepmom, basically the second time for me, and we went to like a Godfather's or Pizza Hut or something, and we ate inside, and there was like a birthday party going on a few tables down from
my
us
God,
of like
I'm
9 and 10
sure
year olds.
that got her
And
shit
they were fucking
going.
furious, like under their breath, they're like, what are they thinking? They
Yeah.
are being so, should we say something?
But see, it really does seem like Dad, though, just
It's a fucking birthday party in
engages
the
in
middle
that-
of a day on a Saturday
Yeah.
at Pizza Hut.
Yeah. But I think that Dad's just like, he just joins her along in it. Like, he knows she's... it's fucking awful. But you're right. He did used to be that way. We used to go to McDonald's, and it was always never again when he would see the lines. All these people, and they don't even open more than 2 cash registers. Never again.
Yeah.
You're the one who wanted to come here, you dumb fat cow. Talking to our mom. But yeah, so she's immediately going to call the pizza place and complain.
Everybody else is like visiting. Dad asked me if I'm considering working at McDonald's now that I'm unemployed. I really appreciated that. But so we're all sitting there chatting. Well, not you. You're sitting there stone-faced like a fucking goob.
Well, no, that
Yes,
happened
from
later.
the beginning.
This stuff about the pizza stuff was what was pissing me off
Okay, so
bad.
we're all just making conversation around the table, and Debbie's not joining in because she's standing there at the window waiting for the guy to come and muttering to herself.
Yeah.
And then, so she eventually like digs up whatever coupon she'd ordered from, calls them in the other room, and is just being a total bitch. Like, I would hate to work a minimum wage job and then get that lady on the phone. And she says, we ordered the pizza about 45 minutes ago. We're having a party right now. And when she said that, I'm thinking, yeah, some party.
Yeah.
Why don't you have this phone call upstairs where we don't have to all feel awkward about it?
Yeah.
And have to talk over you. And it turns out it was her own fucking bad.
Yeah, she's like, you guys are right down the street from us. And they're like, no, we're all the way across town from you.
Yeah. And she was still... So she had to have felt like an idiot, and yet still I heard a conversation between her and Dad after the pizza showed up, because Dad had run to the door, and she was upset that he tipped him at all.
And he's like, he apologized. It's okay.
And he had no reason to apologize.
Yeah.
45 minutes is reasonable when it's not something that advertises
And
less
I'm
than
thinking
that.
it's not a very good tip that she got so upset over either.
No, Dad was never a good
Yeah,
tipper.
I'm not thinking they're out too much money off that tip. But yeah, so then we get that, and then...
But Sophie had a good time. That's important.
Just everything is like that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So you hear that, Mom? It is irritating.
Yeah. How
It's just not a threat to my health.
how can you feel excluded from a birthday party which wasn't even a party, and what do you want? An invitation? Like,
And if she did know
Obviously,
it was
you're
at Dad's
not
house
gonna go.
especially.
Yeah.
Because, she's infamously, I mean, her and Dad both fucking hate each other, and they have since the second they got divorced.
And the
like,
thing-
they don't talk to each other at all, even, like, to ridiculous degrees. I've been places where, maybe once or twice, where they've happened to be there at the same time, and they literally pretend they don't see each other and act like 8th graders.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So, yeah, what's she thinking? Like, okay, well, I think we've explained your side of it now.
But
now she knows why you chose Dad over her.
But
for this
also,
particular occasion.
leading up to that weekend, the whole plan was that Alvina and I were going to take Sophie to the fair, and Denise had been texting me and asking, could they go to the fair, and we would
They
meet
being
up with
who?
her and Devin, our cousin Devin, who was apparently going to come just
But not
for that
Mom,
occasion.
right?
Not Mom, no. I had just had some other big thing with Mom.
There's always something.
But if Mom had just been calm, like, I'm sure by that time it would have been like, okay, if you're gonna, if Jackie's coming too, then we'll see all of you guys. Not spend the whole day with you, but whatever. But then Mom like just fucking kept going nuts and psycho about like the fair, stuff like that. And I was like, all right, man, you can tell Denise that I'm sorry. I'm not going to meet up with her at the fair, and you can tell her that you ruined it. Like, if she's upset, you can tell her that it's your fault, because this is the kind of shit I don't want to deal with. This is not how I want to spend Sophie's second birthday.
Yeah. And, man, I feel like every slam I want to make I've already made in the past. But, yeah, can you imagine Mom at the fair with you guys? It would have been a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Everybody's tripping over Sophia trying to get a picture with her, and...
Yeah, they're not calm. Mom's the same way to where
sneaking sips off a flask, I'm sure.
Mom's the same way where it's like if Sophie isn't entirely like just all over her, hugging her, kissing her, she takes it as a personal offense.
And so does Debbie, strangely,
yeah.
in different ways, but...
And like I've brainwashed her. And the thing is, Mom always comes at Sophie so aggressively that she scares the fuck out of her. Those bright colors coming at you and picking you up, and you're in the arm flab and stuff like that.
And then you've got Melissa drooling all over her too. Like
Yeah,
it's just a
they don't act normal around her.
it's a different and
How would
more
you-
extreme uncomfortable hanging out with
Yeah.
Mom.
How would you feel if like people were just standing around staring at you, saying your name over and over again, just Sophie, Sophie?
Yeah, and then no
response.
follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hi Sophie, hi Sophie. I'm Grandma. I like. Just calm down.
Yeah. Maybe next time Mom should dress up like Dora. That'll get Sophie running towards her.
All Mom has to do for Sophie to go running towards her is to just let it happen.
Yeah.
Just be calm and let it happen.
Yeah.
Because my daughter is a diva. Obviously, that was said for cut.
Out of control, they would crash the airwaves with a microphone. So sit down tight and listen close. All the ladies now to go close. Blood Brotherhood. Blood Brotherhood.
Speaking of gross fits of coughing, you want to go smoke?
Yeah.